Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask Howard Lee and Anna Bevan Gravely. College football has returned, but without fans. Governor Cooper's getting a lot of criticism for not at least allowing the families of the players to be in the stadiums. Is it all right to have political rallies, protests, and church services with more than 50 people? Or should the state also loosen requirements and allow fans to social distance with masks? Anna Bevan?
I absolutely think that fans, family members especially, should be able to go to these games. When I was in high school, I had a T-shirt that said, "The only difference between practice and a game is your uniform." Only now do I realize that that is actually not true. The biggest difference is fans. And that's something that I'm seeing as I'm watching these games, is that it just feels like a practice because you're lacking the energy that crowds provide.
Yeah, Howard, last week I suspect I was like many people, hungry to get back to watching college football on television, and I was watching the Carolina game, and I was also watching Notre Dame Duke. It just wasn't the same. Even though the TV networks were trying to insert crowd noise underneath the game, it just wasn't the same. Your take on this question?
Well, I've long been a skeptic of why we should put ourselves at risk for any kind of athletic event, especially football. But certainly, like you, I enjoyed the game last week and was glad it was played. I do think that there is a way in which to allow a certain number or percentage of fans to come into the stadium and social distance if we put in strict guidelines and hold fans to it, including the wearing a mask. It could add a lot to the experience if indeed we're going to allow it to happen at all. So I think even holding political rallies and holding church services in and of themselves have proven that without some kind of strict guidelines, people are going to get infected. Like the pastor who's told all of his congregation, you don't have to wear a mask, and now he finds himself in the intensive care unit.
Well, and 200 members of his church got sick.
Yeah. So I think it would be reasonable to allow, at least as Anna Bevan said, to allow the families at least to come into the stadium, and could add a few more as long as there's that long social distance. I've seen some events where this has occurred, and it looked to me like it has worked reasonably well. So I would be in favor. I've changed my mind in allowing some of this to happen.
And I think some of it is because the virus has changed also. But Anna Bevan, Howard alluded to the fact that this really boils down to, can we trust the fans to keep social distances, to wear masks and do those things? And as we saw with college kids going back to campus, if they're going to congregate together and not wear masks, get too close to each other, we're liable to have more outbreaks. Isn't that what we're talking about here? Can we trust the fans?
Well, I think that's a really dangerous question to ask, specifically when you're talking about the way that people assess their own risk. I mean, if people want to go, they're going to go, and if they do, then they have to abide by the guidelines that the stadium feels comfortable with. But you also have the option to not go, and I think, can we trust fill in the blank is a very difficult question, and it's dangerous for us to ask those kinds of questions.
Explain that to me, because essentially if we tell them you've got to stay 6 feet apart, except for your own family, if you aren't we essentially trusting them to do that? And if they don't, what are we going to do about it?
Well, it seems like the social distancing has sort of become a new social contract. Whenever we engage with society and go out into the world, we are choosing to abide by those guidelines to help reduce the risk, increase people's confidence in safety, and then also just to keep people safe. And so that's what you're agreeing to when you agree to the terms of going to a stadium, is that you are going to abide by those rules. And so to an element, there is a trust level, but it's the same way, like I'm going to use a car example. I trust you to stay in your lane and while I'm driving on the highway and not swerve over and run into me. There's an element of trust in pretty much anything leaving your house.
Agree or disagree with her, Howard?
No, I agree. I think that it boils down to individuals taking responsibility for themselves. And if it starts with each of us doing what we need to do, then it forces other people to conform to doing what they need to do. And I go to my golf club, and I have a lot of good friends there. But boy, we stay keep our social distance even on the golf course. And I do not socialize or ride in the cart with anyone, regardless of how strong our relationship is. So individuals have to do it. I think we do it in the grocery store. We walk around and we don't allow people to get too close to us. We wear our mask, and we do the things that responsible individuals should do to take care of themselves. Protection starts with you, and then it spreads to others.
To your point, there are people who don't wear masks in the grocery store and people who don't maintain distance, but I've been pretty impressed that people pretty much have been abiding by the social distancing. Well, thank you for watching the After Spin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.